Hi there friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we're going to be making a bottle tag and it's a little bit interactive, so let's talk about what we're using first and then we'll get started. So I've got this adorable stamp set called the Holiday Gnome Stacks. It's so cute, and I do have the matching dies. You don't necessarily need those, but I love having them. We also have our bottle tag die. I'm only going to be using the tag die itself, but it does come with several really great sentiments with it. I did cut that out 2 times. We're going to need both of those. And then I also have a circle die. This is the circle set A, and I'm using 4 of the very smallest. Now you could get by using whatever size your images are, but I use the 4 smallest. All right, so I had gone ahead and stamped out my image using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and I stamped that onto some watercolor paper because we're going to be using our Distress watercolor pencils. I'm slightly obsessed with these lately. I have these first 3 sets here, not the first ones, these are 4, 5, and 6. But as we speak, I had to order the other 3. I mean, there's all the Black Friday sales coming out, right? So, especially Trinity Stamps, so make sure you check that out. But I'm going to get back to my coloring here. I'm using a brown. There's several different ways that you could use these pencils. I've really only dabbled in coloring right on the paper, and I've also dabbled with using my water brush right on the crayon as well. Now I know you can dip your pencil. I know you can dip your pencil into water and then you can bring that right to your paper as well. That gives a whole different look. There's lots of different options for these, but I'm just going to do the 2 that you see there mainly, using my pencil right to the paper and also using my water brush to my pencil and bringing that to the paper. But these are so much fun. I'm slightly obsessed with these. Pretty soon here we're going to quadruple time up our coloring. I started out doing double time, but we're going to quadruple up because there's a lot of coloring going on here, and I want to make sure that we get it all in, because really the more important part is the interactive element that I'm going to share with you. And it's something I have done before using another Trinity Stamps image, just because I don't know, sometimes you just come across an image and you're like, this one looks like it's art. There's so much movement to it. And this one definitely that I'm looking at right now that we're using looks like there's movement to it. And so I just had to, and I really wanted to make it something that I could pass off as a gift. And so that's why I chose the bottle tag. Because 'tis the season, right, where you might bring in some Martinellis or something else to bring to a party. That would be super fun, and how cute to have a little interactive tag right on top of that. All right, so here, as you can see, we are quadrupling up our coloring and just bringing in various colors. Like I said, I have sets 4, 5, and 6 here, and I'm bringing in from all 3 of those. And my color palette, I wanted to do a non-traditional type Christmas color, which is more like the turquoise and the pinks. I just thought those would be a lot of fun, which is part of the reason why I chose that pinky color for our bottle tag itself. I felt like that looked like a fun, I don't want to say like a sunset background, but more of a sky background, because I am going to make it into a little scene. You'll see as we go, because I obviously cannot help myself. I always turn so many of my cards into scenes because they're just fun to do that, especially with these gnomes. My goodness. I did that with the little gnomes that are stacked up on the tree, trying to get the tree going. That would be another one that would be kind of fun to have wobble, since they're trying to put that star up on the tree and there's 3 of them up on a ladder. You could see how that one might wobble a little bit too. So just more ideas. Look through your stash of images. You might be surprised at which ones would turn out really well for something like a wobble. All right, we are pretty much finished up with our coloring, so I'm going to bring in the matching die, and we're back down to double time rather than quadruple time. So I'm going to tack this down with a little bit of mint tape, and then we'll run that through our die cutting machine. And then I wanted to show what really sparked my idea to have this one be a wobble. If you notice on this image, also the die does it as well. There are little lines on the side of this little guy. He looks like he's struggling. Even his little face says he is having a hard time holding everybody up. So I wanted him to kind of be stable at the bottom but wiggle at the top. So we're going to mark this with a pencil. I need two little spots, and so I'm just lining those up, and where I want the stable part and the more wobbly part. And this is where all 4 of those come into play. We're going to use the 2 bigger ones on the top and the 2 smaller ones on the bottom. And I did die cut out 2 of the very big ones and 2 of those on the bottom. You really only need 1. It just depends on how thick you want your piece to be. I decided I only wanted mine to be 1 thick, but then you're going to use your next dies and you're going to cut out those circles on your bottle tag. Now you'll notice that the ones that I die cut out of white cardstock, that's bigger than the hole. That's what you need it to be. You need it to be bigger than the hole it's going to be underneath, or that's going to be above it, because you want to make sure that that's not going to pop out of your circle. So I'm going to set all that off to the side here in a second. I do want to add a little bit of snow to the bottom, so I've used an anti-static powder tool. I'm bringing in my blending buddy and some Shark Tooth white ink by Ink on 3, and I'm going to blend that down on the bottom. I have a embossing powder. You could use regular embossing powder, but the embossing powder that I have is the Wow White Puff Twinkle embossing powder, so it does have some glitter in it, and it's supposed to puff up a little bit. It's not like crazy puff up, but it is enough, and it looks really cute. And so I'm going to start with my heat tool underneath, because this does have glitter. I don't want that flying everywhere. So I'm going to start heating up from the bottom, and then we can go on the top. You can layer this up as you want and make it as bright as you want. I did do another layer on there, but take a look. It has some chunkiness to it. It looks a little bit like snow. So once again, using our background, or making a background, a scene. All right, so this second piece, I'm going to trim off slightly below where there is an embossed line. That die gives you all kinds of embossed lines on it, and so I trimmed down just slightly below that. And then I do have these 2 little discs. These were in my stash. This is what you're going to use to as the mechanism part of it, and you can just got to go through what you have. You can use embellishments. You can die cut out or use a hole punch and stack it up several times. You just need it to be a little bit thick. You know, you want it to be slightly, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch thick, whatever it is that you're using. But, you know, be creative, go through your stash. I did use a dot of glue on each of those white pieces, and I've put my little piece down on top of that. We're going to set those off to the side to dry, and I'm done with my circle dies. But yeah, go ahead and be creative with that. Check through your embellishments. You might be surprised what you could use. While that's drying, I am going to ink up 4 of the sentiments. We've got Let Your Heart Be Light. We also have Merry Christmas. And then I did pull out the 2 from, because I'm going to put the 2 from on the very back of my bottle tag, so that I can give that to the recipient that way. Or, of course, you could put your own little stamp on it on the back. Whatever you want to do. I wanted mine to say 2 from. And then once I'm done with that, I am going to die cut those out using the matching sentiment dies. I love, love, love. I always say that I love that Trinity Stamps has these because they're just fabulous. You could skip this part and just trim them down if you wanted, but I really love how these look all die cut out. So we'll run that through the die cutting machine, and then we can start putting the 2 from on the back. We're just going to use liquid glue to adhere those down. And then the Merry Christmas, we'll use liquid glue to adhere that one down to the top. When we're ready. We're not quite ready yet, because we will need to put our image on there. Now, I do want to tell you that I screwed this part up. I don't want to say screwed up. I just made more work for myself. Now, if I were thinking, I would have done this and then put my glue right on top of my little discs and put my little people right down on top of it. I would have put my elves right over it. And then we would have moved this piece, let that dry, and we could have moved on to the next part. But I created more work for myself. I decided that I needed to put my foam tape down first. So yes, you do want to have some sort of foam tape, something thicker, even if it's several strips of paper that you stack on top of each other. If you don't want to use foam tape, you could do just strips of paper trimmed down and glued on top of each other so that they're nice and thick. You just need a little bit of lift in between the back part and this top part. But I chose foam tape because it was easier. And then, put some in the middle so that it has some stability. But again, like I said, I just wasn't thinking. I'm kind of mad at myself because looking back on this, it just was not necessary to make it so hard. because I think the last time I did this, I did it the right way. I mean, it's not a wrong way. It's just more work. So I've peeled off all the release paper on our foam tape, and now I am kind of lining those up over the top. I did put glue on my liquid foam or my foam tape just to hope that I would have a little bit more wiggle room. But again, whatever. So I'm using my pickup stick to move those down into the hole. Once again, more work than needed. Just making sure that those are lined up in there. And it's fine. So I'm going to make sure that those are nice and center. And then I'll put a dab of glue on each of those. And then we can stick our elves on top of that. Now you'll notice at the bottom, obviously it doesn't give a lot of room to move, but it does obviously give it some room. You do need it to have some room to move, just to wobble a little bit. The top one, you want to be able to wobble quite a bit. So play around with that. Play around with the size of the circle that you might want. You just want to make sure that it does hide behind your image when it does flop around. So I'm using some adhesive foam strips from Trinity Stamps. These are fabulous because they go behind pretty much every sentiment really nicely. And then this one I did peel off the release paper, but because it's going over the top of some very textured embossing powder, I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on it as well. And then once that's done, we're going to bring in some silver Twinkle rhinestones. I'll put those down using my pickup stick. Be aware of where you put them because, again, these little gnomes are going to be flopping around, right? And you don't want the little twinkles to inhibit it from moving where it needs to move. So I put a couple of those a little too close. It ends up working out fine, but just be aware. So that's how he's going to move. He moves from side to side. I'll show you with my finger. See, he's got a lot of room to move around, which is great. But it looks like that little gnome on the bottom is struggling quite a bit. And this just makes me so, so happy. I want to make a few more of them. But yeah, that's it. I hope you give it a try. Let me know if it's something that you might be interested in giving. You could do it on a card. It doesn't have to be on a bottle tag. You could do it on just even a Christmas tag itself. So think about that. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.